hour. Now there, Michael, we're gonna switch over to see who's gonna reign supreme on nothing else than Mirage. Heroic picked it. Heroic gotta show us what they're made of.
Yeah, we talked about it before when we approached us too. The whole map pool is very much equal between these two teams. Mirage is a map you touched upon as well, whereby they've got very similar success rates and sample sizes for this particular map. Like you say, we'll have to see whether Heroic will be able to close this out 2-0 or whether Crazy will fight back and force map number 3, which would be Inferno. Crazy starting on the T side. They're already setting up for a bit of an A split. Molotov in towards the window, smoke in towards that jungle position as well. They're looking to take some early post-plant positions as they isolate S-Attack on the site.
Bomb dropped, and as it was brought to the ground, all the audio issues now fixed. We had finally spectating Crazy taking that bomb down. They definitely need a victory right here to advance a little further. So Letney patiently waits for them to come closer. Blame is to be heard. Smokes it off. And Freiburg would be the one with the kit. That one is dropped, not to be picked up yet. And as they all swing wide when needed, I have no high hopes, Michael. That should be over.
Strong performance from Crazy in the pistol. They've won all 3 pistol rounds so far in this entire matchup, winning both on Dust 2, now the third and rather first round in the second map. Very good success rate on that particular round of things, but we'll see the same response again from Heroic. The force buy in the secondary round, double scouts are brought in. Series of deagles as well. And they've got some nades to do some additional damage, so should a tag come through, they look to potentially finish off the frag with that particular piece of utility. Meanwhile, Heroic have stacked heavily over towards the A side of things. Freiburg just jump spawning over towards B. Can get some early information if possible, but a bit of presence made in towards middle and no real response, or nobody really spotting for it on that CT side will start to make them a little bit hesitant. They may rotate away from the stack.
And as you see right there, Heroic try to put everything into this one. Debatable if it's gonna work, right? But we're gonna see that. Eastack switching over to jungle anytime soon, or rather over CT. Blame F is wiggling around that box and is looking for a little more. Esperanto is identified. Crazy with only 4 players are having a bit of a problem by now, because Blame is once more proven that he's capable of ruling the deagle like a pro. But yet, in the meantime, Letney sneaks around the site, gets the easy frag over on B, and that means Stavin, good luck and have fun. SP down on low could be an easy one, but Otto most likely is going to try to take him down.
Stavin's just trying to work these angles best he can, trying to find an opportunity. Oh, the last bullet in the chamber could have converted onto Letney, bought him a bit more space to work with as both those players were tagged down low, but Crazy are able to avoid disaster. They keep 3 players alive and convert the secondary round as well. That's the force buy negated for Heroic, which will mean standard issue pistols and maybe a couple of deagles brought forward. Obviously with Blame F getting 2 kills in the previous round, he basically funds this deagle again. Look for this to be another round under Crazy's belt. Obviously, they've got 2 MAC-10s in their deployment, both Hunter and Esperanto. Already posturing up towards the B side of things early on. So mid-control will be gained, and Heroic don't have any presence there immediately. Just holding a flashbang as Stavin as well for any sort of push on towards A, making things a little bit easier for the rest of his team, but so far it's been fairly mid-dominant from Crazy in the early stages of Mirage.
Okay, this is the perfect time to talk about this, Michael. If you take the logo of Crazy and put the horizontal one a little up higher, the horizontal part of the logo, and the vertical part a bit more off to the left, it is just a tilted Swiss flag.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
I don't know, it just popped in my head. Maybe a very neutral side.
But they're Serbians.
It's true. I didn't say I have an explanation for it. I just say that seems to be a coincidence.
No, it's also a reverse L, something that they're looking to accomplish in this map.
Very, very good one. Well, let's see if they'll accomplish it. Middle to be taken by Heroic. Immediately, though, the Finn is striking. Counter-frag coming in. But my goodness, they're all standing very publicly up top. We're just 20 seconds in, and 6 players already died in this round.
Hunter creeping up to him. Blamef has no idea. Freiburg now left all alone. He's at least close enough that he can maybe contest these players. And the bomb is still dropped far and away from these crazy players. That makes things a little bit awkward as they have site control, but they'll have to give it up and allow Freiburg to work it just to recover that piece of utility.
Right.
That may present an opportunity for Freiburg. Thing is, he may not know that they've completely conceded the site. He'll think he's getting away with something sneaky here, and as he begins to creep on forward and clear things out, Crazy start to move instead towards the B site. They'll recognize that Freiburg was likely on the rotation, but now that he's cleared things out, he might have an indication and somewhat of an inkling that it's going to be the opposite side of the map.
You see, nothing else than Hunter checking every single angle to be 100% sure. And I think Freiburg would do himself a favor with that bomb is going down to actually save things up. I mean, one rifle to keep as an anchor would be an option, but he says, whatever, I don't care. Directly heading over and storming on that side of B. Nexa is to his right-hand side, back behind the bench. It is Hunter just lurking around, and he might hit the right timing to get his third frag already in this matchup. And yes, indeed, swings wide, does it then.
Yeah, unfortunate timing for Freiburg to pull out a Molotov. He tried to progress up short, but obviously the sound cues being herded out by the apartments makes things a lot easier for Hunter to commit out for that wide peak. And another hot start for Crazy, given the way that things really started on Dust 2. Seems to be the same story here on Mirage, and they're looking to answer back in a bigger way than before. Obviously, they've had some time to mentally reset as well between these two maps, so we won't be lingering on them too much longer. That Heroic were able to swipe away map number 1. Now they've just got the half-buy coming into things. Blamef with the UMP, decals galore for Heroic, and although Freiburg rattles off a shot towards B, no real aggression elsewhere on the map. Meanwhile, Crazy have actually made their way out towards Tetris. Esotag's already in Palace, so it's not too much of a problem here for the Heroic lineup, but I think they have an idea that he's here.
Yeah, seems like it. Throwing a lot of utility right now. Could be just doing it all right, but nah, you got bamboozled. Blamef getting himself a personal little upgrade. Eastack also an auto, but he can't escape once the flank on himself is coming in. Therefore, Crazy is here with number 4 to get number 5, very obviously. Heroic seems stranded, if that's the right way to put it.
His Deagles are having so much impact here for Heroic. Although this is a 2 versus 3, and there's a lot of utility down for Crazy, they still have the numbers advantage, so they can wait this out. They can use their overwhelming numbers to trade things out successfully. Esperanto's getting tagged through the smoke as well. Down to 47 will make this Deagle lethal up close here from Freiburg, but Esperanto gets both. Those are critical kills. Freiburg's able to line up the trade, but eventually it's going to be a labored effort. Nexa takes him down. It comes down close. Only 6 HP left on the remaining player for Crazy, but they still close out.
This is weird, Michael, isn't it? I mean, dominance from Crazy, though, and this is where I always try to recall on what we saw on the previous map. It was also Crazy back then, the lead with 6-2 on the CT side, though. It doesn't mean that it's so much different. And yet again, Heroic at one point started to adapt and started to strike. I'm not quite sure, though.
Yeah. So far, it's been very early decisions from Crazy. I mean, they either posture up for mid control, they set themselves up outside of A, and they don't really change away from that plan whatsoever. Oh, Hunter's lurked his way out towards Connector. That's an easy frag for Esatag. Mid control's been so much easier for Crazy to be able to establish in the early round. Heroic were there in heavy presence in this instance, but now that they've cleared that out, they've dealt with a lurking player. They realize that it's B. There's 4 players here for Heroic.
Yeah, those players from Heroic. Oh, Michael, I just don't know if that's gonna work. In the meantime, 50 seconds that are left on the clock. And they're pushing through. They're pulling through. And so frag number 1 comes in. The second is just granted for Stavin. They just shut them down immediately. The thing is pretty much the cherry on top. Only 1 CT dying, which is then brilliant if you think about it. That there's no high casualties was giving them a little bit of a buffer. Either way, the money is quite alright on the Crazy. Their second round... Part of the second round could be on the board for Heroic, though. And, I mean, this is what's needed, right? If they don't find the 2-5, their opponent once more in a good spot, they have invested all the money in, etc., etc. You kind of get the idea, right?
Yeah, and we've seen like a slow ramp up as well from Heroic. I mean, the half buy before very closely into a 1v1. This time it's finally a Heroic round where they break the cycle, and it's based off of Crazy trying a few different strategies. They'd seen success in the first 3 and been in that first gun round,
right?
But now they're trying to make some sort of an adaptation in anticipation to what Heroic will do in response. Already in this one, they've taken down Blamef, who had pushed himself in towards Underpass, and he was just hoping he went unchecked, and that won't be the case in this particular instance. Esatag looking to aggress in towards Ramp as well will be taken down, and they're just getting picked apart across the map here. Letany even finds the B-Lurk as well. NATO suddenly in a 1 versus 4 where he just has no ground to work with.
Legit 0 ground to work with. That's where, honestly, I'm not seeing too much happening. It's a little devastating, isn't it? Heroic picking this map, being on the CT side right now, and I mean, when we take a look at it from a statistical point of view, right? The CT side is not necessarily the one where they prevail. It's extremely balanced. Yet again, you would expect from this map, which is, as far as I remember, 53 to 47 CTT, to come a lot more out of them. And especially, I mean, from an individual point of view, you would expect a lot more right now from the individuals, like somebody like a Stavin or an Easy Tack at this point in time.
Yeah, and the only round that they've won so far on the CT side has been off of what was a stack, really, and a slow and a really calm approach from Crazy with very minimal map control elsewhere. So it was very easily read from that Danish side. So if they don't have early reads in the rounds, or at least from what we've seen in this game so far, if they don't have an early read in the round, Crazy by and large are dominant in the way that they're able to win these isolated duels. Like you said, the individuals from Crazy certainly stepping up, but that is still lacking so far for the CT side. And we've certainly seen a few glimpses. Saw a couple of nice shots from Blamef with a deagle early on, so it's there, but it just needs to be more consistent.
It's there, that's true. I mean, but it's there isn't obviously enough, right? You know, it's there is obviously not enough.
Yeah.
And that's something where I, as Heroic, would start to be somewhat worried, where I myself would really think this was maybe not the best pick. And this is the thing, right? Heroic has decided to play this. I understand that. Yet again, Crazy is on an exactly similar level. When we take a look at it from a statistical point of view, Nexa himself said, if Esperanto is feeling good on this map, you can't stop him. So on and so on and so on. So 6-1 is a message, Michael.
It's looking like it might be 7-1. Already 2 early picks here for Crazy as they fought for mid control. The connector is completely picked open. Now Crazy have the freedom of choice. They can start realigning themselves up towards A instead towards the B bomb site. You could see a bit of counter aggression here from Freiburg, though. He's trying to take some more control over on that A site. Should this be the split? from Crazy. You'll leave Tag to lock things down as best he can, stay alive for as long as possible. Freiburg is still pushing forward. He may be able to take down Nexa, but that will give up his position. They're actually just going to miss out on the timings, and Crazy are going to move towards A.
As well, this is just not the read going right. Nate on the safe already, understandably. And, you know, the money from Crazy would invite them to go for somewhat of a hunt. I mean, of course, we see 1,400, 400 and co on there, so you would not necessarily say so, but imagining that not all of them are about to die, then yeah, but... Take a look at it. Coming closer.
I mean, NATO's going to be able to... Yeah, he gets one, but he's traded. And you talked about the money. I mean, you're absolutely right. It's suddenly Crazy been able to build up a decent amount of bank. And Heroic, they've only won one round so far. I mean, they made the previous one before that round win expensive. But by and large, it has been Crazy staying alive with 3 or more players. The majority of the rounds that they've won have been in that fact. And so... they'll be feeling confident in how they've been approaching this map. I mean, rightly so. Every time they've gone and picked open either of these bomb sites, there's been a player right behind should a trade be necessary.
Right. I mean, this route obviously will not give us anything. I think we don't need to discuss that.
I think if you're a team as respected as Heroic, I definitely think in this half they need a round like this to be able to pull up something respectable on the CT side. These kind of force buys or half buys can certainly swing momentum back into your favor, just because it makes your opponents often play a little bit more passively and scared, just because they don't know if you're going to go for an aggressive style setup once again. So I think if you're looking for Heroic to answer back and make it so that it doesn't force to a map 3, we definitely need to see some level of success in this round, even if it's just finding 3 or 4 kills respectively.
Right. Freiburg starts off the show with, unfortunately, only 1 frag. Would have loved to see a little more, but that is not going to be the case. The pistols won't do it. As I said, it's my own mistakes are gonna hunt me down. Blame F still wants to start his own circus, and the attraction is, well, only he himself. 93 and 42. One of them is just a body shot, one a headshot away from death. And as he plays around the side, the bomb is to his right hand. Waits this out as good as possible. The clock is working for him, not against him. But from behind, knock knock, Letney comes in. Pardon, that was Espy. Gotta correct myself. Letney comes down, and to his left-hand side, it would be only one more bullet. It's Blame taking him down, and that is the elimination to give Heroic number 2.
Absolutely critical. I thought for sure that Blame F was going to get spotted out by Esperanto, but they just grind too much time off of the clock. They need to make some footsteps, and that gives up Esperanto's position. Had they just waited a little bit longer, it would have been easy enough frag for him. But Blame F works it to perfection. I talked about it. That's a round that Heroic absolutely need. That swings things so much more into their favor, because they win the round off of what was just a half buy, just upgraded pistols brought into the round, and that means that they have all the utility that they need to successfully hold back Crazy's early aggression if possible. You could tell a breather was needed after a round like that.
I mean, this is where I would have not expected things to go that easily their way. Yet again, Blame F up there, elevated, as good as we know him, as good as he is. That should be all his. So advancing a little further on middle, Crazy only find 1 in return, but not the man advantage. And so the rotation from Freiburg is not gonna come in. Middle focus remains in the hands of only EasyTac.
Yeah, all over it, but I think Letney's trying to find some early information, lingering in the smoke and beginning to move his way forward. They're very spread out here on Crazy, just looking for some sort of a response from that heroic camp, because that T side, by and large, has been grouping themselves up heavily. So if heroic can identify a gap, maybe exploit that, turn it into a flank, that would certainly work into their favor, and Crazy have recognized that.
Yeah, they have.
Now they'll converge on A. Letney just looking to run distraction over on the B-bomb side, hoping to cause an over-rotation from the heroic side. The gun barrel spotted out. Freiburg's going to be able to get the kill into Letney, and that will prompt the push here from Crazy.
Yeah, but the over-rotation maybe comes in from Blame. No, actually not failing too much. The flashbang seems ideal. Hunter is just blinded. In the meantime, though, he takes the guy back out on ticket box. And this is making it all quite possible. Just depends how fast Freiburg is. Blame is not allowing himself a mistake. EasyTac knows about now the player coming in, and Freiburg doesn't peek wide. Otto is the man to deny further access to him, and suddenly a problem starts to occur. The failure could only come down to Blame and EasyTac, and as I say, this aggressive stance from him eliminates the Finnish upper, and so this is the third on the board for Heroic. Is it the time to bounce back, Michael? Is it just right here where they advance further to get it working for themselves?
Yeah, this could certainly be it, but they'll need a few more convincing rounds, you'd like to think. You can't look at this as a CT side and think it's all too sustainable, it coming down to 1v1s in these past 2 rounds for Heroic. Certainly good signs, however, that they've made small adaptations, so they're recognizing some of the mistakes that Crazy are pulling through. For example, in that kind of a situation where you are going to be faking towards one of the bomb sites, typically you do so with somebody that has any semblance of utility remaining. Letney, I think, just had, 1 smoke in his arsenal, and even that wasn't enough to really feign too much pressure towards the B-bomb site. Had there been that over-rotation like you were about to point out on the side of Blame F, maybe that becomes a much easier round for those players in the post plan.
Right.
So far, Crazy have been very dominant for this mid control. Heroic have tried to go for some different setups in getting aggressive up top middle, and they've not been going out in that much of a clean affair. Usually it's the one and done, and it's instantly traded by the T side. And I imagine Heroic are going to stop pressuring that position and just concede control to Crazy, because if they wanted that adaptation to be a bit more successful, get a kill, successfully fall back to the sites, and that way Crazy would have to use more utility in that regard. But given how they've been approaching mids so often and coming away with just the 1 casualty and 1 in exchange, Crazy will be more than happy to make that trade. They're not going to change anything too heavily moving forward.
So, through middle, try their best. I mean, this investment is costing them not only maybe round number 11, but an entire momentum. It depends if it's going to work. As Hunter strikes against EasyTac, things start to get a little easier. And as that was not a horrible wordplay, here comes the good gunplay. Freiburg takes down 1. Over-rotating doesn't seem to be the case, because that bomb is now hitting the ground, Michael, and things start to look sinister.
Letney still lurking in towards middle, trying to find an opportunity to backstab one of these players. The question is, does he actually catch them out? As he jumps forward, Stavin's going to be able to take him down alongside Freiburg. Now it leaves Nexa in the clutch. He almost pulled off a 1 versus 3 on Dusk 2 earlier on, but this time, much more difficult position. Now they're going to crunch on through the spam as well. NATO is low in towards
Too
spawn,
easy.
but he hits the shot. And Heroic, they get a 4th, and what's now 3 rounds in a row on the CT side, where Crazy, like you said, they'd force ball into this round, potentially giving up another, as they'll have a much easier time going forward, as it's likely the half buy from the T side.
Well, Michael, buckle yourself in. That's what I'm going to say, because this could be a wild ride from Heroic, advancing further to something. I mean, even if they get 7 right now out of this, I would be very surprised, because Crazy looked like yet again they had this high tier momentum. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it felt yet again like they were just in the driver's seat, in their Porsche 911, just going left lane, 300 kilometers per hour, as casual as possible. And yet again, not really happening for them, is it? And This is where you could start to be a little shocked. Oh no.
Well, Heroic won a round off of pistols. We'll have to see if Crazy can pull the same right back. NATO right through the smoke. Nexa is going to be able to punish that mistake. Stavin able to get one, but it's traded right back. It's spammed through the smoke. That's successful for Heroic, but the 3-on-3 in the post plant, some rifles recovered as well for Crazy to work with.
Yeah, this is a little bit worrying, isn't it? Refrac immediately coming in. Nexa has body armor. It's nice to have, I would say. And so Stavin and his teammate Blame got to switch things around, and if the switcheroo is going to work, not so sure about it yet. Flashbang on Otto is successful. Oh no, this is a failure. The flashbang was there, but everything else did not function. The CTs are running out of money here.
And Nexa's instrumental in that round. He covers Otto to perfection. He sees the flash coming through as well. Makes sure that he's not blinded by it. Knows that Otto's in a very compromised spot as a result of that. And he gets both kills at the end. That's something that could turn the tables. Now Crazy shaping up to maybe get a 9th and maybe a 10th off the back of it, because like you said, the money is not there for Heroic. It's SMGs and heavy presence. Although Stavin's brought up the AWP, they have to make some sort of an aggressive play to counteract the limited amounts of weaponry in their arsenal. Pushing forward towards top mid, there's another player right behind in Esperanto. Who decides to pull the trigger first? Who moves into this position first? Because S-Attack could certainly land the drop on him. And if he did take that player out and push much further, that would be the bomb at Heroic's disposal.
Did he hear him is the question. I mean, surely he saw the molly, not even doubting that one, but... Uh-oh. That could be a bomb drop middle anytime soon. Flashbang coming in. Easy Tech must know. And he got to react anytime soon, because otherwise he's in a lot of trouble. Once he sees the Hunter, that would be brilliant. He's just directly underneath. Can they take him down? Yes, indeed. And top middle, SP has retreated. It is only down to 3 players, Michael. And that's the point in time where you could start to feel a little anxious. Freiburg's close range play. Is it gonna be rewarded? Yes, indeed. Bomb down, and Nexa just up above. And the retreat is the best option. Everybody knows where the bomb is. He's remaining back in the corner. The molly could force him away, but that's fine.
Yeah, time is certainly not on their side, on the side of Crazy. They finally recover the bomb. Freiburg cycling the AWP away, but Letny gets the crucial kill. That establishes control of the B bomb side. That can allow this bomb safely to cross. Should this player off of short not get too much impact, the flash is good to at least deny that from S-Attack, but they need to go swiftly. There's only 14 seconds remaining, and S-Attack's taking the high ground. In on the flank as well as NATO Safix.
Oh no.
Spot the head. They don't see each other.
No, oh no! Nexa down, and Letny. He's looking very desperately. They're jumping out of the window. Finds the first, immediately eliminated. I was scared for a second that this could turn out better than expected.
I'm very confused how neither of those players saw each other in that position, especially. I think it was Nexa, right? On the
on the box. Yeah.
I would have thought for sure he would have been able to see the NATO Safix on the flank, but it seemed like neither of them able to correctly make each other out, not at least until the end where NATO Safix came out ahead in the exchange. But good damage control there from Heroic. That spring, that trap almost being set in towards middle. They pulled the trigger at the exact right moment. You could see how frantic it was from the Crazy players. They weren't sure where they were getting shot from because there was so many angles to cover all at once. And even with the inferior weaponry, they were able to make it work. Good flash in towards CT spawn. We'll get NATO Safix tagged down to 15 HP. Crazy can now take the site successfully as there's nobody else really sitting on the bomb site. Meanwhile, in towards middle, Esperanto overpowers Stavin.
Definitely overpowers him. There, Michael. The immediate refracts are there. And so you see... I don't know if the double digits are achievable. I mean, they should be achievable. Yet again, Blame waiting back in front of Jungle. Same goes for Freiburg. It's time to make a decision.
It's a dangerous move. They're waiting for this mid lurk to work out. Esperanto is just waiting to hear these rotations, give some information over, but Crazy has stagnated. The bomb should go down momentarily. Yeah, Hunter will finally dial it in, and Heroic will peek off the back of it, pushing forward. S-Attack finds Hunter, equalizes the affair. There's still Palace they need to be concerned about. There's player lurking in that position, and they found Blame F. They're going to try and take that duel on 2, but Blame F still turns it around. Otto able to respond in kind. It's a 2-on-1. Otto to try and clutch it out with the ult.
And as he's trying to clutch that one out, no real chance. I see, as I say it, Freiburg got to react in time. The man got the kit, going up high, and he's pistoling him and out of this world. Heroic with number 6, and they deny double digits. And I think that is already a moment in time where they can breathe through. This is a step in the right direction.
How many retakes have they had to bring back on the side of Heroic, though? I mean, so many 1v1s have gone the way of Heroic. Only the one being one so far from Crazy. In the clutch, it seems these Danes will prevail. Can't allow it to get to that close a numbers affair, at least if you're Crazy. Still, 8 rounds registered on this first half so far, so they've at least secured the victory. At least as far as their T side is concerned. So looking for the cherry on top. Get to a 9th, such that the pistol round is negated in its importance. And Heroic seem comfortable giving up the majority of the A site. They've played one player in this position a number of times, focusing instead more towards middle and B, and it's been working for them. Esperanto this time will catch out NATO Sapphics on a rotation, thinking that it was going to be a B or mid play, and Heroic have now lost that site pressure.
Yeah, that's true. Again, Blame reacting quite wisely, maybe overextending with Esperanto suddenly putting his weapon in semi-automatic. Yet again, Michael, I would say a 7 to 8. It's workable. That's decent. That's proper. But can they do it? Is it just going to be a 1-round difference between both the parties here? Retreat and going to the B side is possible. Yet again, SP is pulling through, and Stavin does not peek. They covered him well. Crazy. Gonna fight against 3 Danes who all are quite good in equipment and weaponry.
A situation where Heroic have more utility to work with than Crazy, but shots being hit by Esperanto takes down S-Attack. It's the one-pronged assault back on towards the A site here for Heroic. Flash up high, Esperanto able to dodge, gets the secondary as well. All 3 kills in the clutch. He gets the ace for Crazy to win round number 9. We thought for sure maybe Heroic might have been able to get 7. That would have been comfortable for them on the CT side of things, but he completely shuts them out.
You don't want to see that really, do you? Yet again, tech pause called real quick, understandably. 9 to 6 is retrievable, don't get me wrong. Heroic, though, has not displayed us anything convincing. And that's what I find disappointing. That's what I honestly find disappointing. I expected a lot more in that sense. I hope for a lot more in that sense. Yet again, we need to see, Michael. And it's for me at this point in time debatable. But possible. It's possible.
Yeah, I can't count Heroic out anymore. Not after Dust 2.
No, obviously not. That was amazing.
Just so many great late round decisions from the Heroic individuals. I mean, you can see that they're very adept at finding ways back into round. You all Crazy have been a little bit sporadic, sometimes unorganized, and those are mistakes that, if they're presented to Heroic, they'll be able to capitalize on in full effect. We'll have to see how they hold up on their CT side rotations, whether there'll be some mind games employed as well by the Danes. As I do believe we are sitting in a technical pause.
We do.
Halves.
Did I say technical?
No.
Okay, could have been possible. Sometimes I say dumb things, so... Yeah, no, I'm busy. I mean it. But the way, getting away from that, I'm not sure if we go on a third map. I think it would be decided by in case Crazy wins this, the first buy run from Heroic should decide it immediately. I'm going to put it that way. Should decide that immediately. And if that's going to be the case, I don't know yet. Yet again, I don't want this to be... I don't want this to be thrown away. And I honestly don't believe like this is going to be thrown away. There's going to be a tough fight coming in.
It's hard to make the argument that Lightning's going to strike twice in the same spot. If Crazy get into a really advantageous position, like you said, I don't think they're going to be pressured in the same way that they felt on Dust 2 to close out. There's been enough time where they can mentally reset, they can talk about those small mistakes and really tighten up how they're playing as a unit, and you'd at least want to see them push to a map 3.
Yeah, most definitely.
But at the same time, you've got some of the individuals on Heroic that have really stepped up in crucial moments that we can't make the argument against Heroic being able to pull this back, especially if they win something like the pistol round and the subsequent 2. We're finally away from the pulls. 2 sets of utility being brought up by both Crazy and Heroic. That'll be in NATO Saf's Freiburg. Nexa and Hunter's hands. Nexa with the kit for the CT side. So far, mid-control gained for Heroic, and it's going to be an A play. Freiburg's lining up the flash already towards top connector.
That's lining up. Easy Tack taking down Crazy's player number 1. That will be Esperanto. Got to watch out for Radio. Was it a team tack? I'm not so sure about it. And yes, everybody chimes in. Nobody seems to fail at that point in time. I'm honestly impressed. I didn't expect it to be that easy and that good, but yet again, take a look at it, Michael. I would have not seen that one happening. And so, with fast pace, first of all, I want to know if we're going to see a force from Crazy. Over on this map, it's somewhat unusual, but let's see if that's going to be the case. Yeah, no,
So far that's been tradition.
Yeah, true.
From Dust 2 to Mirage, Heroic held it up on their CT side as well.
Exactly. And maybe another OT? God knows.
I don't want to say it, just in case it happens. Well, Crazy is in a decent setup to deal with the mid-pressure coming out from Heroic. They've got a crossfire set up as well, so as they take contact, they can try and swing off one another. Try to get some damage done on these USPs. Ooh, BlameF taking a lot of damage, down to 45.
Oh. No. Oh. Okay. Breathe out, breathe in. It's all good. For a second, you could have been worried. Those are the rounds which are nail-biters for me, because it's, on the one hand, absolutely astonishing in case Crazy finds that. Unrealistic, of course. But yet again, for the sake of Heroic, you don't want to see it. I mean, the sake of your other team, you never want to see it.
I am a bit concerned that they may push forward in towards the B side off the back of this. They've seen some pressure over towards A. They've got 2 players that are low. They've got an SMG that can maybe work some of these angles. So they'll leave NATO to kind of poke and prod on the A side of things. Meanwhile, they'll start moving instead towards the B site, setting up for the split. The Crazy have over-rotated. They've moved away from the stack that they initially had, instead trying to fight head-on. And that's going to allow Hunter to get the kill into towards NATO. That will signal the push immediately from Heroic to get this bomb planted and into safe enough post-plant positions. But they now have an SMG to work with.
And I mean, I don't want to be worried at that point. Crazy amalgamating all their forces back into the kitchen section. It's not going to really happen. The next one is a buy, and the next one is where we're going to see them strike. But in the meantime, exits is what they're looking for. Heroic's economy is not going to be really damaged at that point in time. Except they're going to swing out wides right now, maybe? Otto? Yeah, going to swing out wide, but going to be punished for it. No further problems. The only thing that could be a threat is Hunter. Take a look at him. Freiburg only takes a dink, and it's going to survive in the end.
Probably a disappointing result from Crazy. They could have felt like they could have taken more weapons away from Heroic, done a bit more damage to that economy. Obviously, keeping 4 alive for the T side isn't too bad for them. And now this is the real contest. So like you said, the first gun rounds are the ones that will really determine how this game will go. Heroic so far have been able to get 2 rounds together on their T side, but if they fall short to Crazy, that will be double digits. At which point they'd only need 6 more. They've got the AWP to play with. The SMG is still out on Stavin meanwhile. And it's going to be the fast play towards B from Heroic.
So, as you see in the meantime, absolute shutdown. In that sense, it was a devastating performance we see right here. It's a little confusing, isn't it? Because it just went full speed over on the site. And the only thing I'd be worried about would be Blame F. He needs to win the initial duel against Esperanto, though. He's a pillar of defense that you can't easily skip. Blame. Gonna be denied. Freiburg, good luck, have fun.
Trying to work all of these angles. 1-for-1 exchanges would be possible here for the CTs. Esperanto at range, though. The Org definitely favored in angles like that. Those engagement ranges can be so devastating, and Esperanto delivers the final kill. Crazy finally get a round on their CT side, and they win their first gun round in spectacular fashion. Keeping all 4 players alive, only suffering the 1 casualty. That was the first contact player in the apartments, and yeah, a bit unsolicited, I think, from Heroic. Crazy didn't have too much utility as a result of saving in that second round. So why Heroic have gone for this fast play where they've just simply gone out without too much utility in their own right is a little bit concerning. But now the full execute will come through from Heroic. Instead, it's again towards the B site, and they're just trying to push through and make use of the fact that that AWP won't be too much of a factor. But there's so many players here for the CTs. There's 4.
That's so unbelievably well done by Crazy at the point in time. Heroic gotta accept that the 11th is on the board for Crazy. Another buy is gonna be denied. So this one is simply working with Glocks, if you ask me. Looking for a pause. Tech issue. Oh, there you go. Heroic seemed to face a bit of a problem on a technical basis. Yet again, that surely wasn't the actual reason behind that failure. And I'm not happy with Heroic in this. And I don't want to blame their map veto in that situation. I mean, it originally was, right? It was we saw a situation of a banning, or more likely ban happening on, first of all, Overpass and then Train, which is understandable from each side. I mean, Overpass decided by Crazy because Overpass and them are just simply not friends. Yet again, Train statistically not working for Heroic either. So Nuke came up next, Vertigo came up next, okay, and also understandable. But the thing is, for me personally, the sample size of Heroic on Mirage is higher, but on Inferno they have a higher win rate due to smaller sample size, which is then Crazy having a higher sample size but lower win rate. You know how it goes. I'm just not sure if that was the right one.
I mean, with it being so close on Dust 2, and with the, like you said, the win rates being so close on actually all of these maps, Dust 2, Mirage, and Inferno, for those just tuning in, it was always kind of going to shape up in this way. I think it's hard to make the argument that you should maybe counterpick to your opponent's strengths, especially when you have a very similar map pool, because you want to show that you are more dominant in that regard. Maybe that's pride talking, or maybe that's an argument to kind of give the benefit of doubt for Heroic, but you can't play too much around how Crazy have been playing it respectively. Obviously, they're a team at a very similar skill level, so it is very much going to be a head-on collision between these two teams every time they meet. The problem becomes that if you don't get off to these hot starts like we're seeing from Crazy, Heroic have, in both of these maps, had to fight from behind. Although they'd secured a halftime victory on Dust 2, they quickly lost that in the second half, and although they get off to a decent start in winning the pistols, the first pistols they've won so far in this best of 3, the fact of the matter is that Crazy seem to have an indication or some sort of a read on how Heroic were going to approach those rounds. I mean, both times they've gone towards the B site, the majority of the presence has been there for the CTs. Now this looks like an opportunity for number 12 here for Crazy, as Heroic don't opt for the definitely misinformed force buy if that was going to come through. As we saw them win a round like this on their CT side. Much more difficult to make it successful on the T side of things. In fact, we've seen 2 eco or half buys go in favor of both Heroic and Crazy. One respectively.
One respectively, indeed. And I mean, that's the obvious shutdown, I would say. Nothing else we expected at this. Next to take it down Freiburg, and so Stavin one tapping as good as possible. But yet again, 12-8 it will be. Money is there for Heroic. And this is where they really gotta turn around. You said it. Things looked interesting on Dust 2, where first of all control was in the hands of Crazy. Yet again, and as you said, reminding it was a 15-10. Heroic have every single chance. It just doesn't seem, and I'm not sure if you agree with me on that, but they didn't seem like they had such a sophisticated play yet. And it's also be focused, extremely narrow, and extremely now. They should have realized Crazy is having a great defense when it comes down to that site. Maybe swap up the setup.
And the swap up's exactly what's on the cards here for Heroic. Mid control instead being taken, looking towards a top middle position, one in towards window respectively as well. But Hunter's in the underpass. He gets one, but he's unsuspecting of the immediate trade. Usually only one on a default will clear out that position. He catches Crazy out in that regard. Esperanto has a bit of a gap in the smoke to work with, however. Still poking and prodding it towards middles. Obviously, the 1-for-1 exchange is not ideal for the CT, so they'll have to spread themselves a bit thin.
And that is nothing else then, how do I put it the best way? That is nothing else than a near do-or-die situation. I would say it's nearly do-or-die situation. And therefore, as I say it, they make it work and they make it count. 2 more individuals garden. Nothing else than A. You see both Otto and Esperanto ready. Aspie to be the final one. If there's a man I would expect to clutch this, it would be Aspie, but yet again, nothing really happening.
Yeah, that round could have definitely changed things for the side of Crazy. Obviously, with them winning those past 2 rounds in fairly easy fashion. I mean, actually, all 3 rounds in a row. They're going to be able to... They'll have built up a decent amount of economy, so they can still buy up into this round. But Heroic kind of picking them apart in somewhat predictable locations. I mean, winning respective aim duels is certainly ideal for the T side, but Crazy seemingly not adapting as quickly as you would have hoped. Not trying to counter-aggress or take control elsewhere. This time, Heroic, they go once again for that mid-control. This time, they get picked off. It's Blame F already on the sidelines for the T side, and Crazy can stay a little bit more default off the back of it. Not going to contest middle much further, knowing that Heroic will look for a response in that position.
Right. I mean, the thing is...
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, this is a key round as well. Because if Crazy is losing this, their economic state is... I think uncomfortable is a good word. Not down to the breadline yet, but uncomfortable.
I was going to say before, is that the question is, does Heroic again go towards B? Because, as you mentioned before, it's been very heavy B pressure so far in this game, and Crazy may have an inkling. There's been no information elsewhere on the map. There's been no real pushes or flashes in to make sure that they can secure out angles. Another smoke has gone down in the B apartments, and Crazy seemingly are prepared for this. There's 2 players in that position. The Molotov is timely as well. And Heroic are just looking for the right opportunity to strike. They spot out Hunter. The flash will come through. They spot out the clear up close, but Hunter and Letnik shut down all 3 players in that position. NATO left remaining, although he's able to chime back 1. Surely not enough time to work with to make this round possible.
That should not be Heroic picking up this round. Obviously, the odds were against them, and therefore... Everything goes just that way. Sad story for them. Oh, NATO Sapphics at least getting a nice little no-scope for the ends. That's pretty much it. Should be a story told, right? If there's no miracle coming in for Heroic. And yet again, I think we have to just quote on what's happened back on that Dust 2. It was absolutely shocking. And so, Heroic know that they have the spirit. But they just need to bring it to the server right now.
I think one of the things we have to kind of look at is the consistency from Heroic on this T side. So far in the gun rounds that we've seen from them, they've been very centered around a singular push, so very minimal presence made elsewhere on the map to sort of alleviate the pressure and prompt out grenade and utility away from this crazy lineup. And when they have, in the round that they did win on this T side in gun rounds, it actually came off the back of primarily individuals kind of spreading out and getting individual kills. And while that is certainly effective, while that certainly has its place in Counter-Strike, you can't expect that to be a long-term plan.
Right.
Given how one-sided Crazy were in stopping those sort of one-off pushes from Heroic, things do not bode well. This could very well end up on Inferno. And this will be the round that really helps solidify it. If Crazy get up to 14, Heroic won't have enough money to buy up in the next round. This one is pivotal for this Danish lineup.
Oh, it is. So they're coming closer. Blame to be the point man, knows about a player on ticket booth, is praying to take down Nexa anytime soon. And the double digits would be then on the board. They expect SP, and here it comes. Frag number 1 is found. Underwood not checked. And that would be a classical position to get. Stavendo knows how to react. And there is still no CT smoke, so they gotta be extremely, extremely cautious. NATO nearly on it. Even Lexim, if I saw it correctly, is flashing Easy Tech into this. And that's Hunter down. And one more to go back on bench. That is Letney. And control belongs to Crazy. Pardon, Heroic, but I shouldn't have said it.
Otter will do his best to chime right back. Still 3 more players to find here on the retake. They've certainly got money to afford up a buy into the next one, but if they had this AWP, it would certainly bode well for them. You'll instead move his way back towards the save. Actually, I talked about the money. It's not going to be the best of buys from Crazy if they do go into this next round. Otter's not even going to be able to save that ult further forward, and Heroic do what they needed to do. He said it was a must-win for them, really, on this map, and they deliver.
And this is Heroic's chance. I mean, this one obviously should be number 11. I think we don't need to discuss that, Michael. From that on, Crazy goes for a proper buy. Yes, indeed. If they are falling into this trap, dark times. That's the only thing I'm going to say. Stavin, flashbang from his teammate, getting it pretty much easily done. Easy Tack knows how to throw those little $200 utility pieces. But yet again, let me hoping, trying, praying, whatever you want to say. 11-13. This is getting close, isn't it?
Oh, baby. Letney's got the Zeus. Aww. Stavin's just too sharp. The utility usage from Heroic there was fantastic to deal with the stack there from Crazy. You said it should have been an easy round 11 as they were shaping up to take the A site and the stack was there. I got a little bit concerned, but Heroic being as procedural as you would expect. Now the buy comes in from Crazy, and they've actually had to short-change Hunter. He's down to an MP9, one of the standout players from Dust 2, at least in the early stages. And Crazy are going to set up in a fairly default position. Heroic once again posturing up outside of A. This could be another execute that Crazy may not expect for it's seeming like the 3rd round in a row. Now they'll move themselves away from that idea. It seems like that was the plan early on, but the smokes were there from Crazy. They'll instead spread out and search for some sort of a push on that CT side, which so far has not come out. Crazy very content to sit passively on the bomb sites and just allow Heroic to play their game. They've done well in positions like this where they've been prepared for the execute, but there's a bit of a distraction play over at A. That's drawing a rotation away.
Yeah, the question is, are they going to pull it off over on the B side or not? Because now Letney... Oh, he's ready for it. Does he take down a second? Yes, indeed. And this is the bomb, and this is so unfortunate. It will draw no further attention whilst the A side was fairly empty. They, of course, couldn't expect it. Let's put it that way, but... NATO will try his best with his teammate. It's not impossible. Don't get me wrong. It's not impossible. Yet again, it is practically impossible. As though he tries... Freiburg gonna clutch this one on his own. Chances for him are there. I mean, he's one of the most experienced, if not the experienced player right here on the server. As though he now made himself present. Gotta watch all the angles. Looks for his left-hand side. Stays close to the window. Very enjoyable idea. But SB is ready for him.
They're getting closer and closer. Heroic do have enough money to buy up into this round. They can still contest this one before Crazy establish round number 15. It would be an identical scoreline to what we saw on the first map. But Heroic are going to talk things through at the very least. Want to make too many brazen decisions. It seemed like they were a bit indecisive in that particular round as well, just because they had already set themselves up for an A-side execute, then considered the fake play. It seemed like Crazy were very aware of that possibility, as well as, although those players went out, they didn't really do so with establishing too much control. They didn't fight for the site, they didn't fight towards CT, instead immediately moving towards jungle and connectors. So Crazy would have already had that information relayed and understood.
On here, Michael. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if Troy can do it right here. I mean, you would look for it, right? You would hope for it, but I just don't know.
Fast play towards B, I think.
Obviously, and I mean, this once more is a sloppy sort of buy. Freiburg tries to buy some attention, but rather retreats.
I'm worried for Heroic in a round like this. Crazy have been very good at holding these sites when they've had limited information to work off of. They haven't had to take too many risks on the CT side. And Heroic don't have that same level of control in these rounds. They've had to play very default to really catch out any of these CT rotations. And with them kind of sitting outside of the B bomb site, now they'll go for a bit of an information play. Now they'll spread themselves out just to see if Crazy have overpushed.
So you see mid focus it is. And as they right now try to seize a bit of control, Stavin considers... Yeah, this is the thing, right? What is the game plan of Blame? I mean, he draws them all to the A side. This is great and nice, but they have to go over short ASAP. 20 seconds. Pressure is getting bigger on the side of Heroic as they need to move through anytime soon. Hunter is ready for them to come by. 10 seconds, bomb dropped. This is sinister, this is dark, and this is disgusting. Heroic, no chance. This is not fun, is it?
Yeah, and it kind of goes back to that previous round where it seems like there's a bit of indecision, right? They set up for an execute, they meet one Molotov over towards the B apartments, and then they just immediately slow down. They don't do anything for about a minute on the clock, and then they decide to take some mid control. They linger in that position too long. There's nobody for the brunt of the push. And as soon as they take down that bomb carrier, deal with the players off of short, there's just no real opportunity for Heroic to get back into the round. There's seemingly some misdirection, I think is at least fair to say on the Heroic side. One idea is sprung, then another one in the mid-round, where some of their mid to late round decision-making was fantastic on Dust 2. The same can't be said here.
The same can't be said here. You perfectly say that one. somewhat saddening. I mean, we surely go on map number 3. I mean, that is what it should be, right? And yet again, unfortunately, Heroic is failing to impress me right here. Whilst Crazy does everything sort of right. Deagle's in their hands. We probably go on Inferno, my dear Michael. And, well, if this is just going to be an extra round or actually Impact, I don't know about it.
Yeah, they'll have to rely on the upgraded pistols to bring it forward. Blame F on the AK. Hunter, ooh, spotted out, down to 15. He's going to feel the pressure, and the heat is sprung onto the Heroic players. Tagged down, but no kill successful. It's Letney alone on the site. AWP in hand, he's found 2, trying to maneuver and dive away from these players, but Stavin finally backstabs him. Otto on the response as well with his own ult. He prepared for the peek from NATO, but he misses the opening shot. NATO doesn't capitalize, however. Esperanto springs into action, and he deals the finishing blow. We're going to Inferno.